Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Let's Talk Moving and Moving Sales Professionals. And with me this morning, I have Kyle Pearson, the owner of Pearsons Moving out of Phoenix, Arizona. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited.
Great, great. Awesome. I always like to have as many people as possible from all over the country. So if anybody's out there, you got a great moving company, reach out to us. Let's talk about it. But what has led you to moving? What has gotten you into the moving industry?
So this is a funny one. I come from no moving background at all. All the moving I did. Our family, when I was growing up as a kid, had a major van line relocate us out of state. I remember that move. That was the only move I did as a kid. But being in college, it was just my pickup truck, right? Moving myself, but. I started my moving company 10 and a half years ago on actually a double dog dare for my best friend. He challenged me. He's like, why don't you buy a trailer and start moving people? And I thought about it for about 5 seconds and emptied my savings account that I had at the time. I was 19 years old and ran on to Craigslist and bought a 16-foot enclosed trailer to tow with my truck. And I'm the type of guy that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go full throttle and not look back. And so I just started hitting it hard. And after a couple months, I left kind of the job I was doing in college. I was working at a car dealership, and then after about 1 year full time doing moving, I decided just to leave school. I don't really like using the term drop out because I don't want to retain the title as a quitter. I just didn't see the correspondence with continuing my secondary education at university, where I was instead running a small business, which is truly what I wanted to do with my life. And so I just went full throttle. I changed paths and just went full throttle into operating my moving company. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
10 years later, here we are.
yeah, I hear you. It's the same thing. I mean, I got a college degree, but I didn't start using it till I opened moving sales professionals. Literally, like I did not use a
Nice.
single thing. I had a communications degree, but I used absolutely nothing that I got my
Yeah.
education on. I paid thousands and thousands of dollars for what? So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's more old school to say, oh, if you have a college education, you're going to achieve goals in life. You know what? There's plenty of people that got college education that achieve absolutely nothing in life besides saying,
Sure.
I graduated from this, big deal school. Okay, well, what'd you do with it?
Right.
Huh?
Abs-
So it's like,
Absolutely.
that happens all the time. And that's like, I've met plenty of people in my life, moving, not moving, that had no college education whatsoever. That just barely had a high school diploma, but they're some of the smartest people I know. And it's so what does that tell you? You got to figure at the end of the day, you got to figure it out with yourself. Forget about, I mean, maybe I'm going to get crucified for this later, but forget about what your parents say about needing to get a college education. You need to figure out what you
Yep.
want to do. If you don't know what you want to do, then yeah, college maybe is the best way for you to figure it out. But if you do know what you want to do and you feel like you're not learning it there, I mean, it's not dropout, it's more making a wise future business decision where you're not going to have extra 20, 30, $50,000 that you're going to owe to Uncle Sam or the college or whoever.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's about making a decision that's ultimately going to impact your future one way or another, right? So, what have you been doing, Kyle, for the past 2 years with the housing market situation? Obviously, everybody's facing it right now, especially in the moving market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So right now our company is we're pretty much maintaining a little better than the levels we had right before COVID.
Hmm.
So we catch ourselves. We don't really want to say like, oh, we're in a down year because the way we're looking at it was the 2 year boom of COVID was like whipped cream on the Sunday. Like
Oh yeah.
it was an extra. It was a benefit kind of a thing. It was like I think a lot of moving companies, us included, we made some large transactions during COVID to grow our business, and I'm glad that we did. But at the same time, I know there's a lot of guys out there that were projecting that COVID sales was their new middle, was their new
Right.
line. And after the housing market, the interest rates went up, everything, in moving did slow down. And so we've tried to pivot ourselves a little bit. We're still staying true to our traditional services, residential, apartments, homes, storage, everything like that. But we've been doing a lot more commercial style moves. So moving your businesses, offices, warehouses,
Mhm.
contractors, you name it. So we've been getting
Talk to
some
Mr.
more
Katz.
business. Okay, good to
Ed
know.
Katz.
Yeah,
That's
I've
that's
seen
the
it.
man you got to talk
Yeah.
to.
Okay, awesome.
He is the
Um,
guru of commercial moving, office moving. That's the man. That's the man you got to talk to. And now for a quick message from our sponsors. For a limited time only, we have partnered with an SEO and marketing company with discounted rates for their services. Schedule an appointment via Calendly link below to learn more. Thank you. And now getting back to the podcast.
And then, we've been switching up our marketing techniques. Google has worked really well for our business for many years, and it still does, and it's still one of our largest driving factors. But we have kind of branched out, and I've personally taken on a job of exploring the social media world. I'm on social media a lot, just naturally, and I see other business owners, other businesses that are just consistently in my face. And they're posting 20, 30 story updates
Am I
per
there yet?
day. And
Kyle, am I there yet? Am I in your face
yeah,
yet when it comes to that stuff? I'm trying.
I I see your stuff too. And so I for so long I was like, no one wants to hear from me. Like I'm just a, average business owner, small business owner here in Arizona. Like, what am I gonna post that's gonna provide value to other people? And is what I learned was the majority of people are like me, right? There are those top dogs and things like that all across the industry and in other industries that have the flashy lifestyle with the cars and the jets and things like that. But most of
But
society
does it
doesn't
really
have that. And
matter? That's the
so
question, though.
it,
The flashy lifestyle, does it really matter? It's like
right,
ultimately, okay, so you have flashy cars and flashy homes and stuff like that, but how's your family? That's the important part, right? That's your family is the important part. What size car, and I'm saying that on purpose, you have in your driveway does not matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a
right,
measuring stick. It's kind of the same thing
right,
that a lot of people talk, well, how much did you gross last year? It does not matter how much you grossed last year. What matters is how
right.
much you brought home after everything. Because
Absolutely.
a person in California or on the West Coast is going to gross more than a person on the East Coast, right? Simply because everything is more expensive. Insurances are more expensive. Trucks are more expensive. Warehouse space is more expensive. More like everything that associated with running a moving company is more expensive in California than it is in Maryland, for example. In Maryland, you can rent a good size warehouse, probably under $5,000. You can get a good size warehouse.
Yeah,
For
exactly. And
like in California, for $5,000, I don't even know if you can get a warehouse, to be honest. Like I
right.
could be wrong. Maybe some
Yeah.
California guy's going to say, no, no, we can get it, but probably not. It's probably not going to be very big if you do, right? So if you
Yeah.
take all those expenses, somebody that says I gross 20 million and somebody that says I gross 8 million, the 8 million guy may actually take home more money than the $20 million guy.
Good.
So what does
Yeah.
that really mean, right? And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more.
Yeah. How do you run your business? And what are you watching the true number, which is your bottom line?
Right. And as far as social media goes, which I have been talking about that really a lot lately, if you guys have been following
Good.
what I've been saying in the shorts and the reels and obviously in the podcast, but I'm talking about that yet again, is that is the future. Okay. If you go to any mall in America, right, and you go walk just walk, down one level of that mall, every other
Right.
person you pass is going to have a cell phone in their hand. Every other person. Every other person is either on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever else that they're using, right? But they're on there all the time, right? So what's the best thing to do? You need to get yourself in front of these people. If
Yeah,
your social
that's it.
media is not there, and then the other thing too is that, look, I was talking to somebody just recently about this too, another a moving company owner that's one of our clients. We were chatting about this because I looked at one of his shorts and I had some my points. Look, make your short about something that's short. How do you wrap a
Yeah,
piano, or how you wrap, a curio
that's
cabinet
good.
or something like that? Make it about something that doesn't take you 10 minutes to describe, and don't go in circles, go straight
Yeah,
for it. Okay, today we had a piano job. This is what needs to happen with a piano job. This is how it needs to be wrapped. This is how it needs to be handled. This is what we need to do in order to make sure that everything is, the customer is happy. This is what we need to do if there's short, like whatever, 90-degree angle stairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? If you want to
yeah,
have a long video, right? If you want to talk about something that's going to be 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, whatever, right? And it's just you talking, you're not actually having an interview with somebody like I am, right? Most of the time. If you're just talking about specific subject, then you need to talk about something that you're going to be passionate about, right? Something that you're not going to 50 billion times, right? That's one thing. The other thing too is that if you're going to put this stuff out, like me, I have a different background. So besides dealing with moving, besides dealing with sales, I have a theater background. I went to school for theater and I spent good probably 10, 15 years of my life towards that from since I was 12.
nice,
Right. So for
nice.
me, it's a natural thing to speak in front of a lot of people. It's a natural thing to film things. And even then, the first couple of times we did it, I had to cut out a bunch of ums out of my recordings because I
Yeah,
was doing that a lot
yeah,
too. And like and whatever. So before you actually go and post something, record yourself a couple of times, listen to yourself a couple of times, have some friends listen to you and give you, constructive criticism. And by the way, I'm open to coaching. So if anybody is interested in any of that, please hit me up. I'm more than willing to help you guys out. That's not a problem. But but make that adjustment so when you start posting from day one. I mean, the more you do it, the better that you're gonna get. But you want to kind of
yeah,
figure out what are the things that are hurting you. You know, it's not gonna take you. You shouldn't be spending 10 minutes describing a piano move. It doesn't take that
yeah.
long, right? Now, if you're passionate about something, you're passionate about social media, or you're passionate about moving industry, or you're passionate about your trucks, or you're passionate about your guys, or you're passionate about your family life, your faith, whatever else may be, things like that we can talk about for realistically, we can talk about for hours. So those are the
Right.
easy things to talk about, to post without going around in circles, right? You just focus on one subject that you're passionate about, right? And that's what
Got it.
I think that's going to make it easier, especially if you're trying to produce more than 30 seconds worth of content. But realistically, piano, 30 seconds to 60 seconds is probably that much. You probably got more than enough content there. You don't need more time than that. Just get to the point.
Correct. I love it.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's extremely important because we need that's the way of the future. Realistic, look, there's companies out there that's been there for 20, 30 years, and these are the companies that generally, most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them, they don't want to change what they're doing in their life because, like, well, I've been successful, I've been making money this way, why would I want to change? Well, we're not living in the same world as we did even 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. It's not the same world. In COVID, the
Yeah.
problem was that a lot of moving companies had the older companies, or me, for example, when I was in business, I saw that as a blip. I knew right when we had that crazy fall where we had more money rolling in October than the world rolling in July, which like never happens, right? So it was like, yeah, there's no way this is going to be sustainable. There's no way it's going to last. And the problem is that some companies came into business right at that moment and they
Yes.
thought that this was the norm. And honestly, a
Yeah.
lot of these companies are not companies anymore. They don't exist anymore,
No,
period. You know?
they're not.
So it's very, very important to make sure that that you realize, look, whether we like it or not, this is a seasonal business. Things do slow down a little, at least a little bit, They always slow down in wintertime. If you manage to
Yeah.
figure something out that's not slowing you down during wintertime, more power to you. Great. You know something most companies don't. You figure something out. Most companies haven't, right? But most of the time it does slow down. What does that mean? That means that summer, whenever it is hitting and pumping, don't spend all your money. Put some money away for the winter to make sure that you have it there if you do have to pay your guys a little bit extra because there's no work and you don't want to lose them. Because at the end of the day, my salespeople are my life, right? If I don't have my
Sure.
salespeople, I don't have my business. If you guys don't have your movers, your foreman, your dispatch, you don't have your moving company. So you want to make
Right.
sure that you have that money in the bank waiting to be able to take care of those people if you have to. Because,
Right.
I forget who said this, but we are responsible for who we fed, who we got used to what we do, who is right there. That's part of our everyday life, right? They're used to us. They're dependent on us. They're dependent on paying their bills. Their families are dependent on us. So, you want to make sure you take care of those people. They take care of you. They make you money, right?
Yeah. That's true. Very true.
So, speaking of that, what are you doing, Kyle, to keep your workers engaged during the slower times? What are you doing?
Yeah, good question. So we have over the years before kind of more so this year, we we just lacked the ongoing training. We were guilty of it. We would bring new guys on. We do about 1 to 2 days of on the job training with them, and then that was kind of it. We didn't really focus on recurrent training. Whereas this year we put a huge focus on it. So we hold a company-wide meeting every week with the movers. We choose a random topic, whatever it is, to sharpen their sword, sharpen their skills, and we work through it. We always get the movers, breakfast, energy drinks for these weekly meetings, and it just kind of helps bring the team together for like one whole meeting every week. So we're in the front of the entire team once a week, bringing everyone together, and that's been huge because now all your staff, your movers, they feel heard, they feel seen, and so that's been really good. It's also just been helping with overall customer satisfaction because our
Right,
movers are sharper
right,
now. And then, in our office, we try to just, we make bets or challenges that usually have a monetary reward or something like that. And, we make it fun. A couple guys in our office, we did No Shave November and all grew mustaches. And, that was just fun coming to the office and, seeing how everyone was doing and things like that. So we do workout challenges, things like that. So it's been good. It's kind of just made it not feel like work so much as it did in the years past.
right. And I think that that's important because that what you're doing is basically that boils down to company culture. I this past year I went to. I mean, everybody knows I've been to a Louis Massaro event. I generally go in. I'm there on the outskirts pretty much every time. But I also went to New York State Movers Association this year, and I was
Nice.
chatting with I think he was a regional sales manager for Allied or one of the bigger boys. He was a regional
Okay.
sales manager, and he said something that stuck with me, right? And what he said was, he said, I hate summer. And he said, the reason I hate summer as a sales guy is because uh it's because during the summer, booking jobs is like shooting fish in a barrel. So
Yeah.
you don't sharpen your skills. He said, I love
Yeah.
winter time. I love the slow season because that's when the salespeople really get an opportunity to sharpen their skills, to get better at deflection, better at objections, better at handling those, oh, I need to talk
Right.
to my spouse, or oh, I need to do this, or oh, I need to do that. This is the time of year to get better, to whether you're getting better as a moving team and have a better understanding or as a sales team. This is the time to really sharpen your skills, get some extra tools in your toolbox, right? Now is the time to
Yeah.
do that. And it's extremely important because ultimately we're trying to obviously every year we want to achieve new heights. We have goals,
Right.
whether we want to go on extra vacation with our families or what have you, right? But we all want to achieve something. So if you get your people to really buy in, like times like these is the times that you could have more, get-togethers with your team and make sure that you're all on the same page. Like for movers, like for me, it was always a big deal when you had more than one job in a day, right? I want like, and
Right.
I've said this a million times. My clients know this because it's one of my biggest pet peeves, right? So one of my biggest pet peeves is when uh we get a call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon from a second job, and the guy goes, well, it's 3 o'clock. You guys were supposed to be here between 1 and 3. I haven't heard from anybody. And you're like, because you don't know what's going on. And you're like, let me check
Right.
in. You put them on hold, you call, and you find out that those guys, that the morning job was huge. You never knew. The guys are not even going to be done for another 2 hours,
Yep.
and nobody knew. And the customer has no
Yep.
idea. The second one, right? And the first one is starting to get
Yep.
a little pissy because the price now, he understands that he's going to be paying a lot more, right?
Yep.
So my biggest pet
That's
peeve,
true.
you got to that first job, you know it's bigger. Call the office. We need
Yep.
to know that the job is bigger because A, we call that first customer, we prep them. So they
Right.
know hours in advance that they have a bigger move. They know
Yep.
hours in advance whether they're just going to stick to the items on the inventory or take everything. They know if they're going to pay
Right.
more. They know what the situation is, right? So by the time it comes time to present them with a bill, it's not a sticker shock. They've been preparing
Right.
themselves for it all day, right? And
Yep.
then the second
Yep.
job, you call them at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, the guys got to the first. It's huge. We're going to be late for sure. Don't know how late. It's too early for that. What do you want to do? We can reschedule you to a
Right.
different day. You can go to work. The guys can call you back later, or we can keep you posted, touch base at like 3, 4, whatever. Or, if you have to cancel, you have to cancel. We get it. But I mean, this is where we are. What do you want to do?
Right. Right.
Customer hates nothing more than when they feel they're not in control of their own move,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
That one phone
Yeah.
call can be a difference between claims, can be a difference between complaints, can be a difference
Yeah.
between them picking on your guys when they show up tired and not tipping them. They're
Yep.
them trying to tell you that you did a scratch that was 20 years ago, et cetera, et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. All that stuff is part of it. So if like it all it takes is one phone call from that foreman on the first job to let you know. And instead of having two pissed off customers, you may not have any.
That's it. That's
That's it.
huge.
It's such a small thing. It's not even a 5 minute phone call to let you know what's happening. That and then you can jump on it way ahead of time before any of this becomes a problem. But
That's
so
true.
many, but so many moving companies don't. And I think that needs to be part of training. And realistically, for those of you guys that are new, that are listening to this, right? Install this policy from day one because it's
Yep.
so much harder to get this installed when you guys have been used to doing it a certain way for 5, 10 years.
Yes. That is
It's
correct.
hard to bring on changes, with time. It's hard to get everybody to buy into those changes. And frankly, you will lose some people because there will be some people that will be stubborn and will be against those changes, even though they make perfect sense to everybody else.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But yeah, I mean, engage now's the time to engage. And, if everybody talks and, everybody's heard, the movers are heard, the salespeople are heard, the manager, the dispatch, everybody's on the same page, you can incorporate these things, right? And you can have people get on the same page with you, your staff be with you. Once again, it comes down to company culture. And that's, we use that word a lot these days, just like we talk about social media, because it's both of those things are extremely important to any successful business or successful life for that matter. You got to have a certain way and you got to be able to do things and do what you say, do what you preach.
100%.
So, but let me ask you this: are you doing anything to engage the community at all?
Yeah, so that's another outside of our comfort zone we've tried this year. So we have sponsored multiple community events. We're a part of our local. So we're located in the city of Mesa, which is just
Mhm.
ultimately a suburb of Phoenix. It's probably the largest. And so we're part of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, and we take a look at their events. One we just did that we're passionate about is their aviation fascination event, which is
Mhm.
at the local Mesa airport. There's like 50 airplanes, helicopters, fighter jets. They have, Boeing is actually
That's when you
at
get to
this
move a
airport.
piano on a fighter jet. I got it.
Exactly. And so they have like the Apache helicopter out there, Base of Police is their helicopters. There's just a lot of cool stuff. So we actually take out a spot. We had our movie truck on the ramp next to all the airplanes. We made a few hundred kids' toy airplanes with our logo on it. There's a lot of vendor tables at the event and stuff, but we know that there were hundreds of kids going home that night with little airplane toys that they're probably not going to throw out for a while that have our
Mhm.
company logo right on top. And
Yeah.
so that was a really
Product
cool event we
placement,
just did.
people, product placement.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we've sponsored, a handful of realtor events, realtor training events, small business events. We've taken out booths and kind of positioned ourselves out front because realtors are, a great referral tool for the moving industry.
Especially right now, because right now, if in the past, and I give all the props to Greg and the home and and the US home listings, but at the same
Yeah.
time, and that's still a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock Greg. Greg, you're awesome. But it's still a great tool. But today, with the housing market and interest rates and everything else, the other thing that you need to focus on is the high-end rentals market. If you're able to get some, I don't know how that would work because that's not my specialty, but if you're able to figure out how to get lists of these high-end rentals,
Yeah.
where people are renting 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house, condos, houses, what mansions, whatever, right? Because
Right.
honestly, here's a situation like for us here in Maryland, where we are, right? I could buy, I want to buy a 4-bedroom house, right? And I'm not the person that's going to be doing all this fixer up stuff because that's not my thing. That's not what I do. I'm not going to fix up a house, right? I want to move into a
Uh-huh.
place that's ready to move in. The most I want to pay for is cosmetics, get the paint job or whatever, right? So a
Right.
place like that today costs maybe 600, 650K for a 4-bedroom, okay, where
Right.
we are.
Right.
Um, but here's the reality: it does not cost that. If you went back to 2 years ago, right before this, that same place would cost like 500K. So you're
Yeah.
talking 100 to 150K more money that this place is worth, plus at 7.58% a pop, right? So smart people, they're not buying these places. They're renting a place. They're paying about the same amount for rent that they would pay for mortgage, but A, they're not locked into 7.58%. B,
Right.
they're not locked into 15, 30-year mortgage, right? They're in a situation where they can, once hopefully everything changes and things start dropping, because look, we know what happened in 2010 with the bubble, right? We know this is
Right.
going to happen again. We just don't know when. We don't know if it's going to happen this year. If it's going to happen this year, hopefully next year, hopefully it happens soon. But we know this bubble is
Right.
going to burst, right? And when it bursts, those houses that are going to be bought for the people are going to buy for 650K that really worth 500, they're going to lose a
Yeah.
lot of money. So
Yeah.
it's like the smart people are going, okay, well, let me rent for maybe a year, maybe two until this thing bursts. And then once it bursts, I'll buy.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if they buy right now, they're going to lose more money because of the interest rates and because of the higher price that it's not worth than they would on the rental.
Right. Right. That's it.
So you got to think about all that. But anyway, we can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about moving. We can talk about sales. We can talk about community events. And I think, by the way, community events, I'm a big fan of that. I think that, I mean, that's something that I certainly want to get involved in more. I'm not involved in it like I should be. I admit it. But I think that's a way you need to separate. Ultimately, you want to separate yourself from your competition. We want to do something different that the other places are not doing. So
Right.
the fact that you're doing that, that's great. Keep up the social media work. I'm going to be reaching out, and if you ever end up putting together a podcast, hit me up.
Yeah. Okay.
No
Awesome.
problem. So once again,
Oh,
thank you so much for joining me, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.
thank
And as I
you.
always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining us for our podcast. Have a great time, and we'll talk to you soon.